Hello there, folks. Hello. I'm going to start because it's like 2:35. But it's been a long day. It's been a long, hot day, but a really, really good day at that. I'm actually going to start by just playing you something that I know that every single one of us in here has been guilty of doing at some point. You may find it amusing, you may not. But those of you who are a little bit older will probably remember this film.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, passed the, anyone? The tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, anyone raised or lowered? Raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
Well, as I say, I'm sure we've all been there and we have all done that at some point. Basically, I know there's a couple of people in here who I do not recognise and who are external to the school. So just to give you a little, apologies to those who do know me, it can sound like I'm waxing lyrical, but I don't mean to. My name is Sunny Gunessee. I'm Head of Faculty for Humanities. I joined the school in January 2012 after working 3 years at the school in East London. I started here as a subject leader for sociology and then subject leader for sociology and citizenship. I have been in post for about 2 years now, coming up to the end of my second year, and now kind of going, oh, it's a lot of work, this isn't it? It's a lot of work. And essentially, I'm here today. What I would like to do is hopefully not do this to you. But in fact, try and get across some of the ideas about what engagement is. And although the jazzy title is there, be front stage if you want to be engaged, it's actually a little bit more than that. It's actually more, it's not necessarily pulling out jazz hands lessons, and it's not necessarily about trying to show off all your best things all the time, because actually it's a little bit more than that. It's about actually the culture that you try and create within your classroom in terms of creating that engagement. How do I know if you're engaged? Well, I'm going to just pass straight back over to you for a couple of minutes. How do you know if in your lessons that you're teaching, how do you know if they're engaged or not? You know what? I'm just going to give you a minute. People on your table. How do you know if they're engaged? Go. I'll tell you what. I'll even be jazzy. I'll even be jazzy with you. I'll throw some post-it notes on the table. I'll throw some post-it notes. Let me throw that old cliche out there. Post-it notes. How do you know if they're engaged? How do you know if they're actually paying attention to you?
Attention to us or the task?
Sorry?
Is it just attention on us or on the task?
On the task. On the task, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if there's supposed to be no reading, yeah.
I was giving it a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Anyway.
5 minutes.
Being able to show that you've heard.
That would be
So a bit like, was I listening? You did what I said, but you weren't actually heard. Well, you know, if you're learning how to do something, then you have to use it another time.
Yeah.
So then you know what you
Yeah, so to reaffirm it at the end of the lesson.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there. I know you guys got absolutely loads. I know Jonathan's been waiting for this. He's been waiting for this all week. So I'm just going to throw this out. Jim, what do you got? What do you got?
obediently sitting in their seats in total silence, facing me with an expression of fear and uncertainty.
Okay, so obedience. Yeah, go on. So obedience, right? I trust you to pick a word that I'm unhappy with. Miss Gregory, how do I spell obedience?
Like I've never spelled obedience. I can say the word. Obediently.
Thank you very much. We'll go, John.
Eye contact.
Eye contact, okay, eye contact. Go on. It's Andy, wasn't it? Andy.
Asking questions.
Asking questions. Okay. Asking questions. Okay. I think what Andy, pass it on to where you want. Pass it on to where you want. Otherwise I'll be showing off my catching skills.
We said about being able to restate the knowledge from previous lessons.
So we say prior knowledge. Okay. Prior knowledge. Keep it going, Rick.
Getting injured. Being able to apply the knowledge that you taught them.
Okay, apply the knowledge. All right, keep it going. Someone else, someone else.
Because it's
Positive responses.
Positive responses. Okay, positive responses. Keep going.
Simon, it's coming at you.
If they spot if you make a mistake,
Right. So
sometimes when they point out any errors you've made, it actually shows that they're engaged.
okay. Spotting out mistakes. I'll tell you. We'll take one more. We'll take one more.
How about being able to do some peer assessment?
Something. Okay.
Because they've been engaged, so then they can talk to each other.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, this is. Thank you. These are all actually fantastic ideas, and actually things which we all kind of take for granted in terms of engagement. But where I was thinking about taking this was actually trying to, as I say, take it towards an idea of how do you create a culture of engagement. And as Rick, you said, like of the teacher or of the task, and these are all very much of things in relation to the tasks that we're doing. Some of the things that, I don't know, from my humble opinion and from, because this is the one caveat I will put out there throughout this whole session, is that just because this applies for me does not necessarily mean I'm saying this is the be-all and end-all, because we're all idiosyncratic in the way that we teach, we're all unique in the way that we deliver. So it's all about actually how you try and create engagement with what you have to offer. Now, I'm very aware, I know I'm very self-reflective of the way, and reflexive of the way I teach. And I know that not necessarily everyone is of this same demeanour, but ultimately, however you are as an individual teacher, it's about how do you use those character traits you have to then create the culture of engagement that you want in the lesson. Some of the things I've kind of mentioned as well is like, how do you know students are engaged? Well, what they're learning is relevant. They can see the relevance of what they're doing. They can actually do something, so they can apply the knowledge. I think that's what you mentioned, Angela. They're asking questions, which was not mentioned. Yeah, asking questions. I can't remember who mentioned. They're asking questions. They want to know something else about it. They want to take it further and deeper and understand the complexities of it. Ultimately, we want to improve. Some element of fun, okay? Be able to talk and converse with each other, share their ideas, to be challenged, have some sense of choice in what they're doing. And actually, ultimately, actually care about what's going on and not to just sit there kind of with some sense of inertia or apathy towards it, which is more often than not what I know at some point we've all done via that clip I showed you at the beginning. We've all sat there with 30 kids going, is he going to shut up at some point and when is it going to be 2:40? And this is ultimately kind of the challenge I have ahead of myself for the next 50-odd minutes. Because this is all about engagement, it really is. Let's see if I can actually keep your attention. So I'm going to start by doing some, being a little bit self-indulgent. I'm going to play you a clip of something. Because this, for me, is something I enjoy doing in lessons and something I very much try to do to engage students. But as I say, it's not really about what's happening, it's about the things they're doing. Okay? So, freeze out to give the sense of climax. or anticipation to it, in fact. For those of you who do not know this, I'm about to show you something called Don't Flop. I'm a massive fan of poetry slams and rap battles. I use this quite a lot within lessons. I think Steve, you've even maybe witnessed me do this. I say it's not about, I'm not trying to ask you to engage in lessons by doing rap battles, but actually it's actually about the culture of what they're trying to create. So, just give you a little taste of that.
90 seconds on Mark, Chris, let's go, man. To those at home who are sitting, watching YouTube, don't start clicking. I know this might look like some kind of extreme babysitting. It is! It's actually a rap battle. Two grown men lyrically bitching, just one of us isn't legally old enough to drink inside the building. And now, well, he's going to try and act less infantile by pretending that he's proper raw. So sit back, watch him reconcile with his lack of breastfeeding as a child. That's why this ugly duckling suckling from the teat of any bumpkin with a beat or means of dumping his meaningless shit on something. And the speed of words you're mumbling hides the fact they don't mean nothing. He may have beat the witch from Oz, but it's time for me to teach this munchkin. You will never amount to something. And I'm here to raise a grievance. Think of everyone whose parents have property in Manchester, mate, that's not a fucking achievement. This blizzard lizard's got no fire, it's just hot air he's breathing, and when all's said and done, as the years drag on, you'll look even more like Deborah Meaden. This rapper's pint-sized, he's cockeyed. When he raps, his mouth only actually moves on one side. He's a prepubescent Popeye, complete with physique that implies that all the spinach in the world has died. And look at him try this poor little chap, like so many anemics I've seen in my class, dreams of riding up high on a unicorn's back, or defending the world from an orcish attack. You wank off in sandals to pictures of Gandalf, you stack with the bags in your porn stash. He's got a hard on for wizards, he only called himself Blizzard, because that's the company that made World of Warcraft.
Now, I showed that to my Year 12s, right, as a form of a way of trying to engage with them, the topic that we were looking at. We were looking at sociological theories. Now, content there has got nothing to do with what we were trying to learn, but ultimately what I was trying to find a way to do was trying to show them a way of trying to take risks in the classroom. And that's ultimately what I try and see engagement as. Engagement is actually being prepared to take risk with what you're trying to do or how you're trying to deliver it. Now for me that pushes me outside my comfort zone. As much as I do enjoy that type of stuff, it is also something that pushes me further, and especially off the back of lots of things that we've seen and heard today from the conference. It is all being about being prepared to actually increase your capacity and not play it safe. Which is why I'm going to potentially embarrass myself now and actually share with you. As I say, this was a slightly self-indulgent part. Share with you actually the rap battle that I did with the sixth formers. And then, because some of you, I bet some of you are kind of wondering where this is going right now. And kind of going, I thought it was going to do stuff engagement. Yeah. But I am going to share with you, because what I was trying to get them to do was, I played this clip and I wanted them to be able to do rap battles as different sociological theories. And they had to battle each other, and what they had to do within it was use key terminology and use studies to have to basically disrespect each other's the opposite sociological theory. And for me, this was a way of being able to engage, to get that engagement out of them. I'm going to embarrass myself now. So, Steve, were you here when I actually did this?
I saw a couple of minutes of it, yeah. But you showed me first, you were telling me before you were doing it, so I can vouch for the fact that you're out of your comfort zone, yeah.
Yeah. So, I modelled one for them, which was the following. So, I pretended I was a feminist, and I pretended I am a feminist. Mr. Gregory's in here. I am a feminist, and I had to battle against a functionalist sociological theory. Oh dear, somebody remembering the camera. It went something like this. Durkheim was wrong about Durkheim was wrong about society being like a human body. The only thing he knew was how to misabuse the body. Social solidarity and let's all hold hands. Claim that we're all in it together. Nah. How about India's daughter? The only thing they were all in together was how she held on to life by a tether. Social solidarity is nothing but false class consciousness. At least that's what my Marxist feminist sisters would say, and I give props to them too. Sharing same values and beliefs about a meritocratic society. Now, that's a white patriarchal societal view. Inequalities in the workplace as we struggle for equal pay and better opportunities. And I plead with you, sir, I just don't want to make the team. Don't get me started on being a sexual object. Page 3, call to femininity and male gaze. All of these are tools of patriarchal sexism to continue under a male haze of control as he continues to betray. As I approach the end of my battle and smash these functionalist fools, the war still goes on to let me pick up my tools. Let me onto those SATs as they claim it's all about bottom up, please. Let me destroy their dramaturgies. Feminism is the only viable way to view society, so let's all remember, let's give it up for women, please. But, getting past all of that, really, this all comes down to some reading, some research that I ended up doing prior to all of this. So actually, my humble view on engagement is that engagement can be different depending on what you're trying to achieve from it. Engagement can be if you're trying to get students to be vocal and to discuss things, or if you're trying to get, it could be different to the extent of that you're trying to get them to do something that is concentrated and something like exam questions. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. Now I've always said this, and Jim may vouch for this over the last couple of years being in subject team meetings with me, but I've always kind of said you've got to work backwards. What is it you're trying to, what is it you're aiming for? So know what the end goal looks like and work backwards. And that's the same with engagement. If you're trying to do something like an exam-based question, work backwards. What do you want them to do in order to be able to do a final exam-style question? And then from there, you'll be able to plot out what it is, the types of activities you're going to do which allow that to happen. And equally, the same with something which you're trying to do, something like a rap battle. Like, ultimately, you know you want them to perform at the end of it, so what kind of culture have you got to create within the classroom for them to be able to take that risk? So, at this point, I'm possibly going to say, like, if you were looking for like different techniques of engagement, I'm not necessarily going to talk to you about lots of different ways of different activities you can do for engagement, because ultimately, you're all professionals, we're all professionals in here, and we all know all the different types of activities we can do. I'm actually going to talk about more to do with how you create that implicit culture within your classroom. So I'm not suggesting becoming an entertainer or some kind of TV show host, but actually just trying to get students to realise the pertinence of the content and how it's relevant to their lives or the subject of what it is you want them to do. For me, this is what I call this is what I would call making the knowledge personable. So make it relatable to them. Engagement means being actively involved. So engaged learners ultimately are interested, they're active, they're self-directing, they're asking questions, they're suggesting new ideas, making decisions, and sharing their learning. And that's the culture you're looking for, as I say. Regardless of whether you're doing an exam-based question, controlled assessment, something where they've got to perform at the end of it, those are the things you're looking for. And these are all kind of what I call more pedagogical concepts. So I went away and did some research. Now I've got stuff here, and I know there's people making notes and whatnot, but I have got stuff here, and I should pass these out at the beginning. So you can make notes on there. This round. There we go. And actually, some of the research I've come across was at the University of Sheffield, who undertook about a 6-month piece of research in secondary schools on student engagement. And some of the things they came out with are the bits that are placed in bold and are actually the most important elements of creating a culture of engagement in your classroom. It's about, as I says here, about actually getting students to take more responsibility and having ownership over what they're doing. The more one is able to get students to take responsibility, whether that is, as I say, exam-based questions or something more visual at the end of it, they're ultimately taking control. It's also about the goals, approaches and motivations. And by that, what they mean is, ultimately, what do they want to be able to achieve by the end of it? Do they want to be better at verbally speaking out loud? Do they want to be better at being able to use keywords in a piece of extended writing? Do they want to be better at, I don't know, sorry I keep talking about the history over here, but like understanding how changing continuity over a period of time. It's also about creating a culture of feedback within your classroom. One of the things that they mentioned, was mentioned within this research that I kind of realised inadvertently that personally I do within my lessons, is always getting students to have some kind of cycle of feedback with one another, whether that be through, so in their exercise books, peer assessment, which I think was, Simon, was that you who mentioned that? No. Their peer assessment. So, yeah, peer assessment. Or whether that's actually having a person A and person B thing. So I know, like Jonathan, you saw me earlier in the week doing that with the year sixes. Those kind of cycles create a culture of where they're happy to be open to critique. And that's how you, ultimately, what I've noticed within my personal teaching, that students don't mind if they're getting it from myself, or even better, they're getting it from one another. Also, it's mutually beneficial learning. So, I think it was in the David Weston, the one, yeah. One of the things that he mentioned was actually how the learning, you know, talking about staff development. I almost look at the culture you create within your classrooms as being beneficial, not just for the students, but also for you as a classroom teacher. Because that's actually, if you are prepared to get things like, Helen, I actually like the spellings of things. I know I am an atrocious speller, and actually, right, thank you, smiley pants. But the culture you create of knowing that the teacher is also learning at the same time as well as the student makes them feel like, yeah, I want to be engaged with it, because there's ultimately, it's happening for both of us. It's not just the teacher standing there as a fountain of knowledge and going, right, I know everything, so therefore listen to me. I don't claim to know everything, and I never will. But having that relationship that's based on that kind of reciprocal nature that you're both learning, I think, from my humble opinion, is something, and from the research, which is one piece of research anyway, kind of reinforces that. And this was also referred to earlier on in the day, the deep and transformational nature of learning, which kind of unintentionally popped up during the course of today's conference, which we kind of realised, oh, I've referred to as well within my session. That students' engagement in learning teaching underpins deep and transformational learning. It's not just this kind of surface knowledge. There was quite a nice little bit that David Weston had done within that conference where he spoke about surface learning and deeper learning, and how, you know, she had 100 dots, 99 of those dots of what we do as classroom practitioners is just surface learning. Actually, how much deeper do you take it? And what I'm trying to put forward here is actually, it's not about looking for quick fixes, because I genuinely think that quick fixes are not really the viable way of trying to resolve something. What you've got to do is look into some more meaningful ways of creating a culture of where you want this type of learning going on. And finally, also, students engage in learning and teaching enables the attainment of skills and basically enhancing people's abilities. It's that thing that I mentioned about 5 minutes ago. It's about capacity growing. We speak a lot about it with professionals that, you know, I'm sure we've all spoken to Tim at some point, and he always talks about capacity growth. And actually, it's that ability to develop not just your capacity to develop as a teacher, but also the students' ability to develop as learners, and not looking at things as capped. And if we're able to create that culture, and what we get within a classroom are students who are not just kind of going, I don't know, say there's a cup, and you think, oh my God, what am I doing here? You pour it in the water and say that's their natural cap there. You're actually going, no, that can go as far and as much as you want it to go. And there's more ability as that student wants it to go. So I came across something else as well, which was potentially a little bit more easier to digest and actually kind of links in with what I'm going to get you guys to do in a moment. Don't worry, it's not just me talking at you. We've had lots of that today. It's actually about, I broke it down, well, again, it's come from some research, but again, just highlighting the 5 key things that come out of this. There should be 5 kind of clear rules for getting engagement in a lesson. Collaborative learning, so the types of activities which allow for engagement in activity. Okay, so what I mean by that is, I'm not going to patronise people by telling you what different activities you can do. You will know what types of activities you can do which are unique to different lessons that you're delivering. But it's actually thinking a little bit more deeply about, is that activity appropriate for what you're trying to aim for? Or is it just an activity which is, yeah, it kills 10 minutes, doesn't it? Yeah, bro. So it's that. Also, it's about student effort, based on good student attributes. Now, I know I spoke to the history team earlier in the week, and we spoke about these types of things, about what types of characteristics were we looking for from our students. So things like highly motivated students should be able to do the following. Sorry, it's almost like a canvas. It's things like students being prepared, ability to be self-sufficient, to take pride in what they're doing, to be resilient, to be pushed and challenged. All of those things don't just happen. And if we think that they just happen, possibly quite narrow type of thinking that, because those are created over a course of a period of time. You have to allow a culture to be created for that to really get that engaged atmosphere within the classroom. It's also about academic challenge. Create a classroom culture where complexity and depth is part of the task. It's not just going, oh, here's another thing, here's another thing. Because interestingly, what I was going to share with you a little bit just later on is when I spoke to students from year 7 all the way up to year 10, because those are the ones who are here at the moment, one of the things interesting they came out with was about complexity. They don't just want to feel like they're just being given a task extra. They want to know about that thing they're learning about in more depth. And that's again something else that may come with, that needs to be embedded and come with time. Student-staff interactions. Think about your own presence in the classroom. Think about how something as simple as your body language, your demeanour, how are you coming across? Those types of things do really play a lot into how students then see us. I mean, Steve will vouch for this, a bit of sociology here, but looking glass self. But I was just thinking about looking glass self there, the whole concept of just because you present yourself in one way doesn't necessarily mean they're looking at you in the exact same way. So just because you think, oh, I'm here delivering all this knowledge, doesn't necessarily mean, so I'm standing here right now going, I'm delivering all this knowledge, going, oh yeah, they're all taking it on board. Jim might be there going, and that's the same as with students. So think about how you're coming across. And finally, scaffolding for learners. Allow students to make mistakes and offer guidance on how to approach the task. All of those things all what I come back to at the beginning, what I spoke about at the beginning. Creating a culture within your classroom for engagement based around risk. Those students are happy to take a risk by doing some of those things which are mentioned above, the interactions, the challenge, the effort, the collaborative nature of what activities you're doing. Actually, they're much more likely to go and take that risk, to push themselves a little bit further, to go and say, all right, I don't really get it, but I'm going to give it a go. And it's, I was in Kevin Pryde's session this morning, Kevin Pryde, and he spoke about the power of yet.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of, more often than not, we'll have students who will go, I don't, so you time. So it's interesting. The power of yet. More often than not, we'll have students who go, I don't know how to do that, and give up. That may suggest the engagement we've created, the culture we've created in our classroom may not be as strong as it could be. And that's where thinking about the power of yet and how actually getting students to think more resilient, like instead of saying, well, I don't know, I'm trying to think of different, keep going sociology or history, I don't know, saga, I'm thinking something in dance, so there may be a particular type of move where they go, I just don't know how to do that, and then you go, yet, you don't know how to do it yet.
You can't do it at the moment, but you will do if you rehearse it and practice it.
Yeah. And this is where, as I say, there's no magic formula for creating engagement. It's more to do with the culture you're trying to create. So, this is where, I'm just going to take a quick straw poll here. We've got maths, we've got history, science. Angie, you going to go with English or humanities?
I'm teaching English next
English,
year.
we're going to go English, art, PE and dance, computing, history, drama, down in computing. I don't suppose I could roughly get you going to kind of, I don't know, something like, if I could get like the, can we get the computing guys and science together? Yeah, that would be excellent. If I could get the history and English teachers together, that would be great. And can I get the, this is going to be an interesting one. Can I get the PE, art and science? I'm going to let you choose where you go. Maybe with the science and computing art. Maybe.
Stick to your own
Okay.
class.
Can you guys just move together around into those rough amount of tables? Steve, I put you as honorary sociology and humanities. Okay. So if you don't mind joining with the English and history and English teachers. Yeah? Who I believe are all over here. Because this is what. Yes. Actually, Steve, I realise stuff over there. Is that okay? Cheers. So, you can, always be difficult to do when you've got an assortment of different subjects. But what I was going to just pass around here was actually give you an opportunity to speak to other subject areas. Because I put up here the 5 things which I kind of see ultimately as important for engagement is effort, challenge, interaction. Oh my God, more challenge again. More challenge, oh my days. That's where, yeah, more challenge, can't get enough of it. Collaboration, I'll change that. Collaboration and scaffolding. Because ultimately, these are kind of the 5 things which shape positive engagement. And what I'd like you to do within the areas that you split up into here, roughly, is to think about, and I'll pop this to you as well, because you can kind of pop your ideas on here, is well, what do you do within your subjects that allow you, unique to your subject, so English, history, creative arts, computing, science, maths, what do you do within your individual subjects which allow for student effort? So think about unique, very specific things within your subjects. What kind of things do you do which promote collaborative learning, again, within your subjects? what kind of student-teacher interactions are going on. So again, that might be a bit more individual to you, and think of maybe being reflective to the extent of thinking, how do you come across in lessons? Do you have a particular teacher persona? I'm very conscious that I know I have a teacher persona, because it's completely different to where I am outside. Academic challenge, like what do you do to promote challenge within your subject? Is it just the bolt-on, or do you, what types of things can you do to add depth and complexity? And then also scaffolding. So what I would like to do is get you to be in these groups, and then actually get the opportunity to maybe go and pair up with someone else who's completely the opposite of your subject, and then try and see if there's any commonalities that come out of it, and see if there are any very specific things which ultimately allow you to leave this room and kind of go, right, well, if there's just one thing that I'm going to do to change my practice, then that's the one thing I'm going to work on. It's all got to start somewhere. So how do we patch these? You get sound effects with it as well. Gregory, you get sound effects.
Is that your teacher persona?
Gregory, that's how people get reputations. There we go. I've even put kind of little prompts on there, just maybe think about, are those things you do within your subject, or maybe they might be slightly different things. But let's say you kind of roughly have people who are similar to your subject, but kind of use that as a starting. I'll give you, I'll go until about 20 past, and then I'll get you to go around again. Right, people, I'm just going to put you back together because I've gone over by about 5 minutes there. You've all had a chance to kind of, well, I've gone through some of them or all of them, but I just want to give you a chance now to kind of mix it back up again. Can you just go and, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, there's 11 people. Can you just go and pair yourself up with someone that, from your perspective, is like the complete opposite of your subject? There may be 1-3. There may be 1-3. So just so we've got art, we've got PE, we've got history, we've got science, we've got computer team, maths. Move yourself around. Ladies and gents, just because we've only got about another kind of 13-14 minutes left. The other thing I just want to throw in here at this juncture, as you're now talking your pairs or threes, is this. As I say, I spoke to year 7s to year 10s over the last couple of weeks about their perspective on what engagement is. And students place particular emphasis on these things. I did do interviews with them, I did record them, but then I was like, oh, we've only got like 50 minutes really, and we're going to be able to fit it all in. But these were some of the key things that came out of it. For them,
next session starts at
At
1:30.
1:30. Oh, out of curiosity, who's going to session 5s?
I signed up to
Session
one.
4,
Session 4 is 2:30. Yeah, your one says session 3 on the board, so this is definitely session 3.
No. Right, in that case then. All right. Clearly engaged. I guess just to kind of round it off with, okay, in that case with 2-3 minutes, these are some of the key things that kind of came from students' perspectives. It was going into complexity of tasks. So not just bolting on extra work at the end, but actually taking whatever you're looking at that precise moment and going into more depth on it. It's also understanding the student and how they work best. This was one of the things that in particular some year 10 students came out with. From their perspective, at the moment, there's a small sample I spoke to, felt like actually understanding them as individuals would help them to be engaged further. But actually, no.
So you need to understand them or for them to understand themselves? I missed that completely.
So for them, understanding how they work best as a learner.
For them to understand how they work.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought, yeah.
That for them would be something else that helped create a sense of engagement. Also, and this was quite wide-ranging, teachers being passionate about whatever they're teaching, ranging. There were some students who were being like, yes, in these subjects, like they're just all about the subject, and then other times, depending on the topics they're teaching, it can feel like they're just kind of going through the motions.
Like the guy in the video at the beginning.
Like the guy in the video at the beginning with macroeconomics. And that's, as I say, that's ultimately trying to veer away from those types of things. And also make students kind of fed back and said, what can make lessons even more engaging is make the topic connect to the real world. How does it actually relate to what is going on, or what's currently going on, or what has gone on? And this will kind of help students to feel more engaged with what's going on in the lesson. So I guess with now a minute over, I'm just going to ask you, with the person you're sitting next to, or the people you're sitting next to, ultimately one thing that you can take away from this, that you can go, right, I'm going to go and try this on Monday and see what comes from it. So I'll tell you what, I'll just give you a minute, just with the person you're sitting next to. So.
I like the idea of the students taking ownership must be so hard that yours on tool is your actual physical body and must be so trusted.
Take ownership over their own life, which is bizarre.
Do you do a lot of philosophy stuff? So you say it's that must be to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
Do you find that they stay up for
Give you another 30 seconds.
some of them do that one way, it really
But they can be quite happy in their body without that wordage.
All right, let's just find out from you. Guys, because I want to release, I'm going to let you guys go on to the next session, but let me just try and find out some of the things that you may go away and do on Monday. Rick?
Undulating, twisting movement of the front limb.
Undulating?
Undulating.
There you go.
Steve.
Rick, something you're going to do?
Make sure that I always relate what I'm doing to the real world, because computers are quite abstract, so they don't always perceive the relevance.
So coming back to that thing of relevance, Steve.
Teach your talk, i.e. trying to say less but cover more, with a variety of different ways, hand gestures, signs, videos.
So thinking about that type of activity in which it's delivered with Saga. Someone else?
Oh, these stickies, I forgot it. Why are you asking that? What pregnant person there? Remember things. You're going to remember things. That's what you're going to do on Monday? I think it is the sort of like, within dance and things, it's actually giving them the confidence to show their knowledge. And things, because they don't often believe that they can do what they can do. Because it is expressing themselves rather through speech and writing, which they're used to doing within lessons. And then all of a sudden I'm asking them to do it through movement, which can be a little bit fruitful.
Angela, go on then.
So this is something that I think is more of a long-term thing than just on Monday.
Yeah.
But like building in what those expectations are when you do something. So like I use the example of green penny because I know when I say this, my students know exactly what I want them to do, and it just kind of becomes this ongoing cycle. So you set it up at the beginning, and then later it just becomes so much easier.
So it's that whole creating culture thing. And you know what? I think on that point I'll probably going to end there. Ladies and gents, I'm just going to finish by saying one thing which came up from over on this table. It was just referring to the idea of creating an engaging culture, which was all about actually, Louise mentioned it, it's basically, as we kind of keep things simple and just let it scaffold on top of itself, and as each one of those keep going up and up, the student is going to feel like they're having little bits of success, and with those little bits of success, it's going to make them feel like I can take that risk because I am doing well at something. And as they keep going up that, you can make the task more complex, you can make the outcome more difficult, and ultimately what you get is a highly engaged student. You get this whole thing I've been talking about, which is ultimately an engaged culture of engagement, which is unique to you as an individual teacher and those individual classes you teach. Because there is as I said, there is no magic formula to it. And if there is, please come and tell me at some point. But I do genuinely believe it is unique to you as individuals, and it is unique to the classes you are teaching. Just because it fits for one class does not necessarily mean it's going to fit with another. And the more these principles here that I've mentioned, active and collaborative learning, student effort, challenge, the staff-student interactions, and the scaffolding become a part of a culture of what you want to create in your classroom, then you'll get that long-term engagement and not just a short-term fix.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.